Welcome to the JAMODI podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is JAMODI, just a matter of doing it.
Coaches, the JAMODI podcast is powered by Scoreboard Media. Scoreboard Media works with high schools across the country to run professional sponsorship programs on their LED scoreboards. Whether you already have LED and you just want to supercharge the revenue, or you want to use sponsorship revenue to buy new LED video scoreboards, Scoreboard Media can help. They work with sponsors and advertisers locally, regionally, and nationally who want to connect with your school's community. Email info@scoreboardmedia.com to start the conversation and see what's possible.
With your meetings, I would imagine that helps to build confidence in players, them knowing what you see in them, what their role could be. How else do you go about building confidence or helping players to protect their confidence?
Well, that's been a piece of, we've got 2 more meetings to go with our 10 returning guys. And I've heard that from almost maybe half of them is one of their weaknesses is that they lose confidence and they're going to be better. You know, I've got to get better with my confidence because it affects how I play. And so I think getting to know them and I think we're at a place too where we don't have the parent involvement that high school coaches do, but you know, I like to ask our guys, you know, what are your parents telling you? You know, are they the type that are, you know, you made 9 out of 10, why'd you miss the one? Or are they just kind of hands off saying, just listen to the coach? Or are they the ones that are in the lobby after the game telling you everything that you did wrong and talking about the game? Or are they just, you know, kind of more of a, you know, just that's the coach's piece? Because I find that most of the time that some of their lack of confidence is coming, it's been a lifelong deal where the parents have always kind of talked to them or told them about that. And I've had all the, you know, the different levels. It seems like, you know, a couple of the best players I ever coached had dads that were unreasonable with them and they had their struggles, but I think they would have been great anyway. So you try to balance that too of, you know, what's in your head and why is it in your head? And I'm not going to create a worse situation. I'm going to try to fix wherever they're at in their mind, help them to get that confidence that they need to be successful. And because ultimately it's going to spill into, you know, their relationships, their marriage at some point, how they raise their kids, their jobs. And so we got to get that straightened out at this time.
Couple things there. One, I think it's refreshing to hear. That may sound bad, but refreshing to hear that college players deal with some of those confidence issues the same way that high school players do. I think sometimes we feel like when they get to that level or the NBA level that they've got that part figured out. But that's just something that we always as coaches have to be wary of. And again, not that we can build their confidence. Their confidence comes from the preparation, the time they've put in, and then what they think about. But the what they think about part, maybe we can help shape the direction that their thoughts go when they make a mistake. But then to the second part is I'm always looking for great questions to ask my players in our 10-minute meetings. And that, what are your parents saying question, I think is really useful. And not in a way to where the player or the parents ever think that we're trying to inappropriately put ourselves in the home or, hey, like, I need to know what conversations you're having with your parents. That's not it at all. But I think for me, as a high school coach, knowing just the same way as you, when you miss shots after games, what kind of conversation do you guys have? Good conversations about it? Like, what are some good ways that you think a high school coach could ask that without it being or feeling like we're either attacking or disapproving or trying to put ourselves maybe in a place that we shouldn't be? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's the subtlety of being able to again, with the relationship of being able to just talk and not feel like, well, he's asking with an agenda. Just being able to ask in a way that you're trying to help them with how you coach them, and because ultimately you want to get the most out of them. And so it's that you're looking for an angle of do I need to be more positive with this guy, or is it full steam ahead with the challenging him because he needs it, and be a little tougher on him or be a little lighter on him.
I think too, we keep our opinion out of it. Like the way that the dad is talking to the player after a game about their performance, how we feel about that can't enter the conversation, or else that is where we start to become like it is us and the player versus them, or we're giving almost, to me, the way they parent the child isn't really I have no control over that, and I need to stay out of that. But to your point, learning information of how things are being handled so that we can communicate better with them, I think that's huge.
Yeah, I agree. I think as we and I'm very honest with our guys, and this time of year I take a lot of responsibility. I take responsibility during the year. A lot of times a loss or a defeat, I take the blame because and I don't do it in a way that they think is not sincere. Well, he's just saying that. But in these postseason meetings, with several of our guys, I have said, I learned a lot this year and I didn't use you the right way. And I'm committed now that we've had this experience of you're not a low post player. You'd be better dribble handoff, side ball screen and roll or pop or just, whatever, using that time as well and the confidence factor to say, I've learned that the way we're using you has not been the best. And so moving forward, here's what we're going to do. Do you agree? What do you think? And so those communication of utilizing their talent, ability, and not trying to put them in a position that maybe they're not best at. But I take accountability myself in those meetings.
I think sometimes coaches may shy away from owning those maybe considered mistakes or ways that we could have been better. We like to appear to our players to always have the answers and to make the right choices. When you show that vulnerability like that, what's been that reaction from your players?
Well, I think they respect that, and they're probably not. I think with our guys anyway, I think most of them are hard on themselves, and they're coach, it's not your fault, it's our fault. But I just as a coach, you feel like you got to put your guys in the best position to win and be prepared for different situations and have a plan of how do we react on a free throw situation at the end of a game or getting an inbounds, just things like that. If we haven't prepared the guys well enough, then certainly it's my fault. And you can't prepare for every scenario, but you can do your best to do that. And so getting a little off topic, but we've tried to take, find 5 situations of free throw situations where we've got film of teams losing or making a play that wasn't a good one and just clipping those off synergy and sideline inbounds and baseline inbounds and just being able to say, this is what happened. This is a good situation. This was a bad situation. And putting them in seeing those scenarios and then learning from those and then trying to help them in that regard.
I hesitate to ever bring up the portal with college coaches because I don't know how they feel about the situation in college basketball. But with your meetings and being so upfront and honest with them about where you see their role being next year, how does that idea of the portal and that it may be so much easier for people to leave and go somewhere else, How does that kind of factor in with your discussions?
Yeah, that's a piece of it is the evaluation, and here's where I see your role being for next year, and scholarship amounts and those kind of things. When we recruit in this time of year, I would much rather have a player that, and it actually just happened last week where we had a kid visit, and it was within a couple of days he called me and let me know that, hey coach, I just don't think C of O is a good fit for me. I appreciated that because it wasn't drawn out and it was honest
Yeah.
and it was done. And that's kind of the way I think with our postseason meetings. Let's just be honest. You be honest with me. I'll be honest with you. Are you happy? Do you want to be here? And are you looking? And what's your plan? And then we're also honest and tell them that we're recruiting. Here's what we've recruited so far. Here's what we're looking for, and that helps them to see that I don't see you playing next year, and we're recruiting more big guys or whatever. But I also, some of our best players have not been very good as freshmen, and I would have never dreamed that they would improve the way that they have. So I always qualify everything with your development is up to you, and the sky's the limit. And so this is just my opinion right now, but I certainly know that it's not necessarily 100%. And so I believe in you. Trying, we get in these situations, I think, sometimes where we're always thinking there's somebody better out there. There's a portal that's got, all kinds of guys in it. But we're more into development here, and we try to recruit mostly high school guys. Although it's getting tougher, guys don't want to stay if they're not getting to play as much as they used to. So we have more movement here than we used to. But I'm not out looking for a lot of transfers. If they're local kids that we've recruited anyway, that's been our most likely transfer scenario, that they tried somewhere else and it didn't work, and now they want to come. Or people are familiar with us and they feel like they'd be a good fit.
So that's an interesting point about the high school players, because I think knowing high school players, knowing what a college is looking for is important. Does that college only look in the portal at this point? Do they do both? Or like you, do they really like to find those high school players that over the 4 years or so that they can develop? But it's an interesting point that I hadn't thought about, was a challenge with high school players possibly being that the odds of a freshman coming in and playing a lot, like that's really small. But are they willing to go through the process, which is you work, you practice, possibly you sit, but you learn and you improve and you grow into a role? Yeah, it just seems like that's harder and harder to find these days.
Yeah, I think that you're right. And we're a small college, NAIA, and general feeling is, you maybe you could go to a NCAA 2 school, but you could go to C of O and play right away, the small college. And that's not necessarily the case. Even at the NAIA level, there's the transfer is certainly filtered down to the NAIA, where a lot of the teams that we play are full of transfers and big, strong 22-year-old guys, 23-year-old guys. So our guys have to be committed. I'm here. I'm going to develop. I want to get better and work hard. And that's really, and you got to be a good fit here at C of O. And so that's what we look for, is guys that have potential to develop and want to stay here, because it's amazing. The any success that we've had has been our guys have been 3 and 4 year guys. So they have stayed, they've developed chemistry, they've learned how to run our motion offense and defend, and they have chemistry. And that's enabled us, I think, over the years to compete against teams that maybe have more athletic ability and talent, but they haven't played together like we have.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the JAMODI podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.